Here's a question rarely asked seriously. What actually makes Gen X different? Not the fashion they wore, not the music they grew up on, but the way their minds were trained to think, react, and make decisions. These aren't random traits. They're 10 distinct mindsets, forged over decades of living in a world that kept shifting, kept destabilizing, and never guaranteed them anything. If you see yourself in this list, that's not a coincidence. Subscribe to Labyrinth Psychology to keep uncovering what's quietly shaped who you've become. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Mindset 1. Prepare for the worst. Not pessimism, a habit of always having a backup plan. A savings account you never touch. A plan B for almost everything. This is a direct result of coming of age through one economic downturn after another. Mindset 2. Solve it yourself before asking for help. Before picking up the phone to call for backup, they'll try to fix the problem on their own first. This isn't stubbornness. It's a reflex built from a childhood of letting themselves into an empty house and figuring things out alone. Mindset 3. Skepticism backed by evidence. They don't trust a new trend just because it's being hyped loudly. They've watched too many flashy promises collapse to be easily convinced without proof. Mindset 4. Tolerance for discomfort. The ability to sit with an unresolved problem instead of needing an instant fix. This is a rare skill in a world built around instant convenience. Mindset 5. Knowing real responsibility from imposed responsibility. After years of carrying more than their share, many Gen Xers learn to tell the difference between what's genuinely their obligation and what other people have quietly placed on their shoulders. Mindset 6. Observe before reacting. They're rarely the first to speak up in an argument. They watch, they process, then they weigh in. A skill built from having to read situations on their own, with no one around to explain them. Mindset 7. Respect for privacy. They're not in the habit of putting every emotion out into public view. For them, some things are meant to stay private, or shared only with people who've actually earned that trust. Mindset 8. Practical over idealistic. They prioritize what actually works over what sounds good in theory. This comes from watching plenty of beautiful ideals fall apart the moment they collided with reality. Mindset 9. No need for constant validation. They don't need a compliment every time they finish a task to know they did it right. Their confidence comes from within, not from immediate feedback from other people. Mindset 10. Adapting without losing themselves. They've lived through countless waves of technology, culture, and social expectations, shifting entirely. Yet, they've held on to a core set of values that hasn't been easy to shake. Not every Gen Xer carries all 10 of these mindsets. But if you recognize yourself in most of this list, it's probably not because you were trying to be exceptional. It's because you had to learn how to survive in a world that kept demanding more, without anyone ever really teaching you how to do it systematically. These mindsets weren't a gift someone handed them. They're the mark of a generation that learned to stand steady, not through luck, but through repeatedly getting through hard things on their own, year after year. If you recognized yourself in at least 5 of these, drop that number in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Labyrinth Psychology as we keep uncovering the quiet truths that have shaped who we are.